Welcome to the Shoot It Straight podcast.
Welcome, everybody. They can, if you're watching, you see the contrast from how Erika and I deal with cold weather.
It's not even, it is cold this morning. It is. It's not like it's summer, but it's also not that bad.
It's cold. We're in the studio / my office, and on the other side of this camera, there's a heater and a humidifier, and I'm sitting here in a blanket and a beanie, and Erika's in a
Shorts
t-shirt
and
and shorts.
That's right.
And I've also got a little mini heater on my lap in the form of a 14-pound dachshund. So
Yeah, squat helps out a lot.
yeah, he's 117 degrees exactly.
He really is, and we were cold last night going to bed after we had walked around and done Christmas lights last night.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was kind of cold upstairs. Actually, it was a little drafty, so we had to do some body heat action.
Yeah,
make sure we stayed close.
Yeah, but it's definitely off-season time. That's for
It's
sure.
It's off-season time, which is our topic today.
Yeah, that was our intro into the topic. It being
intro
cold.
into the topic. It's cold. We've obviously, if you compare episode 40 to this one, episode 41, what we're wearing, it probably is a different vibe, especially more so for you.
Definitely for me.
Yeah, definitely for you.
It is cold. You are a warm-blooded, and or a cold-blooded maybe. I don't know what you are, but
I don't know. I feel like since I've gotten older, something has happened where I definitely prefer cooler weather.
Yeah.
I don't know what that shift is. I don't know. I got out in the summer. I like the summer too. I don't like being hot. That's very uncomfortable. I don't like being hot. I don't like working when I'm hot. I don't like wearing a lot of clothes when I'm hot.
Mm-hmm.
So I prefer to just kind of be a little bit colder. Definitely want to sleep cold, all of those things.
Even golf being my favorite thing to do, it's just if it's cold, I just don't do it.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a lot of people like that too. I think there are. I don't need perfect weather, but 30, it's 31 degrees outside right now. And I'm not no way. It's not even crossing my mind to go out there and play golf right now.
No, I totally get it. I don't know. I sometimes think about the times I trained for a long time out and stuff like this. I had to go out and go for runs. And I would be numb. My body was numb. It hurt. It wasn't comfortable, but it's I made myself do it so many times. And then oftentimes I would jump in a pool afterwards. Nobody wants to go to the pool in the winter time.
Right.
Inside, of course. But I don't know. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I certainly don't want to be doing that kind of stuff anymore. I don't. But yeah. Maybe it's a little bit of that. And I don't know. I certainly wouldn't want to play golf. Your hands get kind of hurt. I don't like playing sports out in weather like this usually because it's kind of hard to keep warm. And then your game is very affected.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes when you hit a bad shot when it's this cold, it reminds me of playing baseball and getting jammed.
Hurts.
Yeah, it reminds me when you get one in on by your hands and get jammed and
it goes
yeah, and your hands hurt. Yeah, and you get that with when you hit not a very, and sometimes a decent golf shot doesn't even feel that great when it's this cold.
Right.
Granted, there are tons of indoor golf places popping up. One of our lift heavy swing fast athletes, I went to his grand opening just down the street here in Bixby, Oklahoma, just south of Tulsa. He's got a great facility for indoor golf, and it's so much fun. I find myself hitting way too many balls though.
Yeah.
I'll sit there and just kind of rapid fire, hit. And you do that on the driving range too, I guess. But even when you're playing, when you're doing the courses and everything, it's just so fast. All of a sudden the next screen loads and it's okay, cool, my next shot's up, and boom, hit another one. You play the exact same amount of shots you would hit in 4 hours, you probably hit in an hour
very
or
much
less.
So.
But it's great. I love that they're doing that. I think that's obviously a huge thing for golfers to keep doing it year round. Especially here in Oklahoma where it also gets hot too. It's I'll play in the heat. You just got to kind of manage it a little bit more and go really early is what I do. But when it's super cold, it's no.
It's darker too, so that it does limit the times of day that you can go out and play.
Yeah.
So it's not you can play after 4, and when it tends to be a little warmer, it kind of starts to get, you can't go start a round of golf.
Right.
I do remember when you and I were playing in Austin, and we did a 4 o'clock round or 3:30 or something, and we really didn't have enough time to get very, we got
you're not
12 or
far.
13 holes. Yeah. So anyway, it's perfect to talk about off-season training because it's obviously a hot topic. I think it's important for us to definitely today go over too for the people that are not technically in colder climates right now. We have a lot of those people that have reached out to us over the last couple of weeks because they're well, should I do off season? Does that apply to me? not cold down here, you know, so it doesn't necessarily have to do with the weather so much as like the periodization of your training too. And I think we should stress that in today's episode. We'll definitely talk more about what off season like really means for the sport of golf and how it doesn't necessarily mean that just because we're winter in some one northern hemisphere and summer in the southern hemisphere doesn't mean that we can't also be in an off season training cycle.
Right. And there's snowbirds out there too that are moving from one climate to the other, so they're never like getting a you know, an off season, if you will, like of cold weather where they're not playing as much. I mean, I think when people do their snowbird activities, they probably play, maybe they play more, but I bet it's like not. I bet it's pretty comparable for those types of people that move around.
Totally.
That mainly do it for golf.
Yes, that do it for golf. Totally. Yeah. So why don't we kick it off and maybe just kind of highlight. Let's highlight where we are right now in Lift Heavy Swing Fast for people that don't know. We haven't really talked about our program in a long time. But maybe like high level of where we're at. And then like, obviously we have an off-season program too. I think that's important to highlight. But let's kind of talk about Lift Heavy Swing Fast and where we're at in the cycle and kind of what we're coming into the holiday season.
Yeah, so when will this be released? This will be released in a few days. So, all right, so this will be pretty relevant then. Yeah, so we just finished our first like full off-season 6-week cycle where we focused on eccentric training. So, you know, like the lowering of, let's say, a squat. So we're really kind of focusing on that. That was a grind. That was a fun little cycle we just did. And now I think what's important is that you realize like that we're all humans, right? And the holiday season's coming up, whatever, you know, you celebrate this time of year. There's parties, there's things going on. This is the time of year where we typically enjoy ourselves a little bit more. Maybe our workouts take a back seat. Some people, they don't. But we created like a little mini cycle, if you will, to kind of get us through the next 4 weeks. It'll start on Monday, so it'll start tomorrow. We're recording this podcast on Sunday. You'll hear it on Wednesday. But anyways, it's like 4 weeks, and then it'll pick back up with a new 6-week off-season cycle the week after New Year's. New Year's is on a Monday this year, so taking all that into consideration when you work with just normal folks, it's like you don't start something brand new that people are probably going to miss. If I'm anticipating that our compliance will be down a little bit and people will miss a few workouts, and that's going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Because you've got to enjoy your life and set yourself up for the new year. So where we're at, like in the training cycle itself, is I'm really kind of wanting to set people up and like kind of target any muscle imbalances they might have. So this focus on the next 4 weeks is going to be a lot of unilateral focus. So like single-sided. So you're always going to be imbalanced, right? Like no matter what. I've been lifting weights for a very long time. My right arm is still stronger than my left arm.
Well, yeah.
I've done millions of things.
Well, yeah.
And I've done millions of single arm exercises. So you're never going to completely be balanced, right? Like it's just never going to happen unless you tie your right arm behind your back and like do your daily activities with your left arm to catch up eventually, which probably still will never happen. But that's going to be the focus of this next 4 weeks, is really kind of address those imbalances, unilateral strength. And I'm also reintroducing contrast training that's kind of like an in-season style of training. So it's like where you do like a strength movement immediately followed by an explosive movement to maximize your strength speed gains, if you will. So we didn't do that in the last 6 weeks, adding it in for this 4 weeks just because I like to mix those back and forth versus just doing like a couple of explosive movements back to back. Contrast is a strength movement followed by an explosive movement. And then like when the next 6 weeks rolls around, I got something else that I want to experiment with, that I will experiment with myself over the next few weeks and see if I want to introduce it to our athletes when we start that next 6-week cycle the week after New Year's.
Yes, the week after New Year's. Perfect. So yeah, I mean, I think so. It's 3 days a week. We're sticking with that too, and then the 4th day on Saturday is more of like a do it if you can or if you want to type thing.
Yeah. So, and I give people even more options on that one. As our program grows and we get more and more members, I'm fighting, maybe it's more of an internal battle of like how many options to give people versus not, because if you give people too many options, it becomes confusing. Yes. And so I want to give people the option to do like a conditioning or like maybe more of like a muscle endurance, or like maybe, you know, if a bodybuilder would probably call it like a pump session or something like that on Saturdays as kind of like a nice thing to do, just kind of mix it up. So like whatever what is the old saying? It's like the best exercise you can do is the one you haven't been doing after you do something for so long. Is that how it goes?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of giving people those options. I've been hitting people with conditioning for a long time. And so for the people that have been we got people that have been in the program since day one. and it'll be a year in March. So I mean, they've been doing a conditioning day. If they're truly sticking with it every single week, they've been doing a conditioning day every single Saturday for a long time now. So I like to give them an option of things to do too. I've given more options as far as like how to attack like the speed training in our programming, and I think a lot of people are starting to do that too. It's like, hey, if you've been doing, because I do use a lot of jumps and slams like plyometrics and things like that. And it's like, hey, if you've been doing these for a long time, like let's try something different. Let's maybe just go sprint as your speed work for the day, or maybe now it's time to introduce yourself to an overspeed training club, and let's use that at the beginning of the workout instead of the jumps and slams every time.
Right.
So it's a battle. Like I want to give people like a variety, but then I don't want to confuse them.
Yeah, I think people buy programs because they want to be told what to do.
Right.
But I think, there's definitely value in offering the options because people definitely want to do different things. I know I was following a program for a while. On Saturdays, there were like 3 different options. One was like more of a 10K steps rest day. Like be active, but like this is what your Saturday is, just whatever. And then there was a bodybuilding option. And then there was like people that wanted to do like it was like a Olympic lifting, just like a few like so kind of like maybe power training or something like that.
Right.
But the point was pick the one and then follow that. That kind of be your little mini Saturday cycle for the 4 or 6 weeks or whatever,
right.
Which is cool. So maybe I think I think offering options is fine. I think it's more like just make sure people understand to kind of pick one and not necessarily cherry pick if they kind of want to progress.
Right.
Like, and if you haven't done a little bit of endurance work in a while, like this is your time to do your 30 to 45 minutes of zone 2 on the weekends for a few weeks or something like that. But,
right.
Yeah.
And I like to do that, and I do that too. Like every cycle will always have some type of exercise that's going to be in every single week. Accessories, mobilities, speed train. The types of like jumps or slams we do will usually alternate or vary throughout every other week or something like that. But yeah, I'll have things that stay in there, and those will have options too. It's like, okay, you could do a single arm press, you could do it with a dumbbell, you could do it with a landmine, you can do whatever it is for that option of exercise. And it's like, whatever that is, keep that in until the cycle's over.
Yes.
We're going to progress that in either weight, reps, or, whatever.
Yes. So now maybe let's talk about more like the specifics of off season for how it applies to just, specifics, but also like generally speaking, periodization maybe is what I'm getting at. And just like the fact that we cannot be doing a cycle for 15 weeks linearly progressing for,
right.
4 months doing the same shit. Most people, I think, get bored by that point anyway. I don't think most people want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really, unless, again, we're talking, if you're following an endurance plan, that's a little bit different, or even if you're progressing a certain skill, that's a little bit different. Those things literally, of course, you need to just keep crushing over time. But when it comes to like power and strength, you don't just add 5 pounds to the barbell every week forever because we know that that's ridiculous, or else we'd all be deadlifting,
a million pounds.
Yeah, like lots of pounds, right? So you get to that point where it's like, all right, I've gotten so far, and you're, so let's kind of maybe highlight that. Because again, this goes back to the people that maybe they're not in winter season right now, and they're like, well, am I in off season? I'm not sure why it's important to do things in cycles.
Right. And I think you hit on that. It's like, you don't want to do the same thing all year long. Like there are differences for golfers with in-season and off-season programming, mainly with volume and like the amount of work you're going to do during your workouts. And I think for most people, this is going to be the time of year it's to do off-season because there's not as many tournaments.
Right.
Like for competitive golfers, like there's just not like, unless like I think like the last phase of Q School was recently. So most people are going to be having an off season right now. If you're a member of a country club, there's no tournaments right now. Your member guest, your club championship is in the spring or in the fall. Like ours was in the summer. So it's
straight up holidays.
This is off season. Like for even the competitive golfers, the ones that I work with, that even live down in Mexico, they're doing an off season program right now, but they could go play golf as much as they want right now. But this is like, they're not in tournaments right now. This is off season time. So you just don't want to do the same thing all year long. And what's really important when you're training during the off season is that we're trying to condition your body to be able to handle more workload when the season comes back around. Like, we train you harder right now, and usually that means just more repetitions. Like, we'll just keep it simple, I think. You're just going to do more total work. I think a lot of people out there think this is the time where you're going to lift super heavy.
Right.
But you're actually going to lift like more of like a moderate to heavy load for more repetitions. And it's going to make you more sore, more tired, but your body recovers from that. And you get better week by week by week. So now when this off season is over, we've made all of these gains, especially in endurance and strength, that when you start playing more, you're going to do an in-season workout that's going to be not as fatiguing. And now you've trained yourself to handle all of this workload. So you've got this big, buffer of conditioned energy, I guess you could say, left to go play golf.
Right.
And that's what you want, right? You be tired now for a couple of days. That's okay, because your body will respond and get better. And then now you can handle that, and you can just take that into the golf season and turn that into playing golf and practicing and getting better.
I'd like to insert a nutritional caveat too, since you're talking about it and talking about more volume, and it's the holidays and all the things. It's now is the time to be okay with eating a little bit more and fueling your body too. So with the added volume, typically if I'm coaching a client, no matter what time of year it is, if they're trying to add volume or do performance work and try to increase their capacity of work in whatever that is, it's time to eat some food.
Right.
And again, this is not permission with the holidays to eat, I'm not saying go eat extra candy and things like that. Not necessarily. I mean, yes, that fits into your calories, but continue to focus on protein and that stuff too. This isn't the time to say I'm going to be, I'm leaning out, or I'm trying to, lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time. Listen to the last episode if you need more clarity on that, because we nailed it for 20 minutes. We talked about that in episode 40, crushed it. All the ins and outs for people that want to change their body composition and what that looks like. But now's the time to again, we are eating maybe a little bit more, and maybe we are just more sedentary overall, because outside of golf, just people probably aren't getting as many steps as they do in the summertime. They're not out and about moving around, doing things with their kids on the playground as much, whatever. So it's all right, time to use that to your advantage. Get your recovery down by way of nutrition too. Make sure you're eating enough and fueling yourself, because you will be less sore and sleep better and all those things to help with your training.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. And I think when we're training as a golfer, I think the exercise selection is interesting this time of year. I think this is actually when you would do more golf-specific exercises, because you're not playing golf as much. Whereas in season, you're going to be out there swinging the golf club more. You're going to be doing the movement that you're training to do. You're going to be doing it live. I don't think we need as many golf-specific exercises in an in-season program as we do right now.
Right.
So now is when you really want to make sure that included in your program is more of your quote unquote golf specific, or maybe just golf looking drills that are exercises, right? That really get your hips moving, that get your thoracic spine moving, that get your core activated, all these kind of things that you're going to do when you actually play golf, but we can put it in the program now. So that way when in season comes back, and the whole reason, we really want to work hard in the off season is just to prepare our body for the in season that comes back around. That's the goal, right? Is to play better in season. And the goal right now is to prepare your body for that. So these are the types of things we'll put into an off season program that you may see less of an in season program, because you're just going to do it for real.
Yes. Yeah. And your body doesn't need that much repetition. Your CNS already has it down. The movement pattern is already there.
Yeah. And another good point of, when you bring up the CNS, the central nervous system, is we can do different types of loading in the off season, because your brain doesn't need to be as ready to fire on the actual golf swing, right?
Yes.
So we can load you up for more deadlifts and more squats,
yes,
and more pressing and things like that. Just heavier, more volume that does fry your central nervous system a little bit more. But granted, it will get better, it will recover, and we don't need it that day, which you can still go play golf that day. I want to put that caveat out there too. It's not going to destroy it's off season. I think people, for some reason, oh, well, I can't play golf, that's going to destroy my game. No, if there's a random day in January where it's going to be 60 degrees and it's my Monday workout, which is always the most challenging workout of lift heavy swing fast, is usually on a Monday. Actually, I think this last cycle, a lot of people said Wednesday was, but anyways, you can still go play golf after those workouts.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd be a little sore, but okay.
Just expect not to peak and everything all at the same time. I think a good way to wrap this episode up is just we can't be working at all of the things at the same time. That really is where, again, like my favorite phrase is like chasing two rabbits, catch none. You just have to kind of keep that in mind, that the cycles are important, because during the season, maybe you're wanting to be fucking good at golf, but like not necessarily your goal during off season.
Right.
Goal is to prepare for the season, for your tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
To be kind of going in one focused direction, whether it's like, you know, I'm improving my capacity, I'm improving my strength, whatever it is, picking kind of one or two big nuggets to focus on and not expecting all of those things to happen at the exact same time. But over the span of the year, yes, all of those things elevate. You just kind of have to like zoom out a little bit, like the timeline.
Right. And I mean, our program literally covers everything. So like if you've had an injury, or if you're like lacking like hip mobility or this or that was kind of nagging you during the season, like you can work on all that stuff right now too.
Yes.
You could add in more of it if you really want, but I mean, in our program, we're going to cover all of it. So just taking like focus and right now, like chase like the making your body better rabbit.
Chase
if you
that
will.
better. Yes.
Chase that one.
Yes.
Get all that stuff going in the right direction, because it will just only help you out next year.
Totally. Which again, like that's why a subscription and kind of keeping consistent with something on a monthly basis is where we prefer people go. We do have one-off programs that are like in 12-week cycles for people that just kind of want to come back to a program, and they can just kind of have access to it whenever they want to start it, whatever, and kind of work on their own calendar. And that's totally fine too. We offer that option for a reason as well. Mm-hmm. But you really start to see the full like benefits. I mean, I think that like, again, I always tell people like give yourself 6 months, give yourself a year if you can to like see something through, because then you'll really start to kind of see the bigger picture and how something works in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, I've considered like creating an in-season program that people could like do right now. But at the same time, it's like kind of going back to what we said at the beginning, like you give people too many options, it becomes confusing. And like,
yes,
this is what you need right now.
Yes.
Like if you just follow this, what, you know, a full year of programming and see like how it ebbs and flows with off season, in season, the little mini cycles in between, there's a reason for all of that. And you don't want to just repeat the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to do things you don't want to do. Those are the things that you need to be doing.
Yes.
That's the benefit of a program too.
100%. And I'm guilty of that myself.
All of us.
I followed for a long time programs written by other people.
Yes.
And paid them and
Correct.
Learned. And
yeah. So, well, with that, I mean, guys, this is where you find our programs. We go to codywescottgolf.com/links is where you can find all of our lift heavy, swing fast options. We have a free 7-day trial. And by options, I mean we have a full gym access program and we have an at-home access program. So they're essentially the same program, following the same cycles, but the at-home is a little bit more friendly for people that don't have access to as much equipment, dumbbells at home type thing, bench, bands, have a little bit more minimal equipment, because it's about 50-50 split out there, people that have kind of written us. So codywescottgolf.com/links. You can find our newsletter there too to sign up for all of our different things that are coming out in the coming new year. We've got some things in the works that we'll share later. But yeah, all of our programs too, there are free downloads for all of them for people to have all the options to just like kind of figure out what it is that they want to do.
Right.
All right.
And I answer emails. I personally answer them. Emails, DMs, if you have any questions about that stuff.
Perfect. All right. Well, hope everyone is having a good end of year into the holiday season, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.